Hello, everyone. My name is Conrad. On behalf of CameraStuff, hope you are doing pleasantly well. Thanks for joining yet another session of In the Limelight, where we explore the local South African photographic industry, and we find some talent to interview, and we get to explore their careers and ask them a bunch of questions. So tonight we are joined by Gabriel Bambo. We initially featured him as part of a local photographer to follow feature, and he garnered a lot of interest. It's our most liked Instagram reel at the moment, and we thought obviously we need to pull the guy in for an interview here as well. All right, so as normal, if you're watching out there in Facebook and YouTube land, if you have any questions to ask during the live session, during the interview, please do drop them in the comment section. In the meantime, tell us where you're from, introduce yourself in the comment section, and we'll do a shout out from our end. Okay, so I think without further ado, let's pull the man in. Hello there, Gabriel. How are you doing?
I'm good, Conrad. How are you?
I'm doing pleasantly well. Thank you very much. What have you been busy with today?
Oh, man. I've been doing a lot of HR stuff, quotations, research, planning, and pruning, all that stuff.
Yeah, photography is not always glitz and glamour. There's all this
it's
behind the scenes stuff that needs to happen as well to kind of bring everything together. Yeah, so as mentioned, so it always glitz and glamour.
Yeah. But I enjoy that too, It makes everything much better.
Absolutely, yes. All right, so as a reminder to everybody watching, do drop your comments in the comment section. It's display here for everybody to see as well. So let's have a nice little group chat in the manner of speaking. So if you have anything to add to the conversation, please do so. All right, so I think from my side, I think what we can do is show the world what you're capable of.
Woo! Looking back at my work.
Always fun to do, eh?
Hey! I love shooting this girl. She's so dope.
And we'll talk about these images one by one in a wee bit after we get a chunk of questions out of the way. But yeah, fantastic work done. As said, once we featured you, that's our most liked Instagram reel at present, something in the 5,000 or 6,000. So we thought, obviously, let's get you in. Let's talk about your career. Let's get a bit of insight.
Yeah, I'm here for that, man. Let's get into it.
Okay, so I think first question is, and it's normally always the first question, what initially sparked your interest in photography and how did you get involved in it?
Oh, it's been quite a lot of years now. But I remember we used to, me and a friend of mine, Tantla, we used to share links. This was during like the blog age, when people were blogging a lot. So we used to share like fashion blogs, film blogs, photography that's kind of just made its way in there also, So I saw this blog called I See a Different You. There's these twins from Venda, but also they grew up in Soweto. So I always saw this stuff and I'm like, this cannot be South Africa. Even if it was very obvious that it was, but it looked like they captured it so well. I'm like, how do these guys get to capture content so nicely, man? And this was photography, like was even I ever like looked at it as an art form, like my first introduction of photography as an art was those guys seeing their page. This is amazing, and then the love for it kind of grew even more. And then I was like, no, let me just get a camera and then try to recreate and see how they made these images come to be. And then that was like the spark of it all, only to find that actually I've been taking pictures of my friends with the camera phone like for a while. I didn't think of nothing of it, but once I picked up an actual like camera, I was like, I love this. I don't see anything else.
All right, so you called it the way I see you, or a different way of seeing you, right?
I see a different you.
Yeah, I see a different you. So that's a great compliment for a photographer to receive. It's like when somebody tells you, you've put me in a different light, or you showcase me differently, or I'm seeing myself differently. And I think, as I said, that's a very good compliment to receive. It's like you participated in capturing this moment and you're showing someone or a location or an event and obviously putting that out there in the world for people to see. And that's the magic, that's the spark of photography that we all need to keep. And very often we forget about it, but it's difficult to keep that spark going. I think that was
Yeah.
my second question. How
Yeah.
do you keep that spark going? Yes, in terms of inspiration, getting yourself out there, keeping yourself motivated. How do you go about motivating, lining yourself up to stay in the game?
Man. You see, it's very tricky with inspiration, right? Because sometimes you find yourself not having inspiration at all, but then you because we are like, I feel like all creatives have like an obsession to what they do. Like we've
Mm,
left the whole passion in like game a long time ago. There's levels to this thing, you know. There's the interest level, and then there's like a passion level, and then it gets to a point where it's an obsession level. And
mm,
when you at the obsession level, you pick up a camera with or without inspiration. Like it
yeah.
becomes second nature. You just do it because you love it, you know. So there are times where I feel uninspired, and then I'll chill on that. I'll relax, and as creatives, I feel like sometimes you just need to do nothing so that
Mm,
it
yeah.
means more when you do something, you know.
Mm,
So there are times where I feel like I don't want to do anything, and then when I actually do get that inspiration, I go, bro. Trust me,
mm.
I go. Like I run till the wheels fall off.
Yeah, I think that obsession level that you described is a very dangerous territory. It's a bit of a minefield. Like, yeah, it's good to be obsessed about something, but that over compulsiveness or obsession can
Mm.
turn you into a different person. Like, you become too analytical about your work and you kind of lose the magic, you lose the zest for it. It becomes too much of a quote unquote job. And now it's like a boring thing to do. It's just something that you do day in and day out. Now, it's very difficult to remove that little goblin from your head when it comes to that over compulsiveness.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think it's
true.
individually, yeah, it's individually dependent as to how you go about defeating that little goblin. But as you said, a bit of down period, a bit of quote unquote abstinence away from the
Yeah,
world of
yeah, I'm
photography
saying
just
sometimes I
helps
feel
you to revitalize the passion going back into it. So taking a break every now and then is necessary because
it's very much necessary. Yeah,
you start missing what you do and you start missing the good feelings. Yeah, absolutely. I
exactly.
think having a little bit of a break every now and then, it's very good advice.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
so I
man.
see lots of comments streaming in, and we have a
Yo, yeah,
good
people
crowd watching
are
at the
coming
moment.
in. I appreciate that. I'm
All
seeing my
right,
sisters are
so
in here. I see like a couple of friends of mine are in here. Coslin, I see you. Shout out.
well, I'll keep going. Do you see other familiar names? Give them a
Yeah,
shout
yeah.
out.
I see. My baby sister is in here. Bitumelo. I see. My other older sister Tsoho is in here. Oh, McDonald. Hey, what up, boy? Coslin, Paledi, Paledi. And mind you, most of the people that are actually watching now, most of them are based in my hometown. Like
Oh,
Mokopane,
wow,
Limpopo.
awesome.
Yeah. Oh, they love me. They love me. I think they do. I
Oh,
think they
good.
do. Yeah, they love
Fantastic.
me.
Well, I think they know they do. I think don't worry about that. Yeah, as I said, your work is fantastic, and I see lots of comments here about representing as well. Obviously, not only in terms of where you're from, but keeping the game going.
Exactly.
Representing very, very, very important. So, if you
Yeah.
don't mind me asking, what camera did you start off with, and did you face any challenges or limitations with that? And what do you shoot with now?
Okay, my first camera was borrowed to me actually by a friend of mine that I used to work with, Confidence. He borrowed me like, you remember these thin Samsung, uh,
Hmm.
like they have like 12 zoom. I forgot
Yes,
the name.
yes, yes.
These Samsung like silver-ish looking thingies. You know,
Like a
so
cyber shot or something.
yeah, like the shutter, yeah, something like that.
Mm.
That was like the beginning of it all. I tried like, but and I thought it was great because I didn't know cameras like that yet. So I just thought, okay, I'm able to shoot something and I can see it immediately after I shot it. It looks good. I can edit it, even though I didn't know the softwares at the time. I was just using whatever I could to edit a picture. And then the first one I actually bought with my own cash was a Canon PowerShot. And to be honest with
Hmm.
you, I bought it because it looked similar to like DSLRs. but I didn't have the budget for a DSLR. So it kind of looked intimidating to those that didn't know cameras like that, you know? So I liked it. And then the worst of the worst happened. I was shooting at some event in town. So after I got done shooting, I placed it in a friend of mine's bag, right? I'm like, can you please keep this? Here's a bag with her. So I'm assuming it'll be on her, it'll be safe. Just when we were about to leave that event, they snatch her bag.
Oh, gosh, okay. So that the camera went with it.
Everything inside, I was, man, that took a knock out of me.
How did you recover from that?
Whew, I had to find a way to get another camera. I stopped shooting for like, I think 3 or 4 months. But I think during like December time, I asked my sister to help me out with like extra cash so I can buy a nice DSLR. And that's when I went to the, what do they call this? Canon 1300D, EOS 1300D. Yeah, and it came with like, it was twin bundle situation. So it came with like an 18 to 35 millimeter and a zoom, what do they call the one? The 75 to 105.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like my first camera where I saw myself using a DSLR, setting my camera to manual, trying to figure that out. I didn't go to school for this, so I had to learn, like, I had to teach myself everything. You know, and with time, I kind of just, you know, learn, YouTube this, ask a friend that. There was a friend of mine who was actually in the film industry, so he taught me about like digital framing and stuff like that are important in the photography game. So it got to a point where I'm like, this is it, man. Oh, and that's like, and the thing about that is like, that is not only the only issue that I once lost my laptop hard drive. That time I had to edit this other content that I was getting paid for. I had to ask a friend's laptop so I can download and install Lightroom. That time it's like 8 at night. I stayed at my friend's place until like 1 in the morning till I got finished. And then once I got finished, I managed to send out the images the day after. Crazy stuff.
There's a lot of lessons there to be learned in that little short explanation that you gave us. So number one, being given a camera by somebody else, and I think this is something you know, a lot of the old guys and the old women in the industry kind of need to realize is that there is a lot of untapped potential out there in the world, especially here in the South African industry, and just a little bit of a helpful hand can potentially untap a lot of talent in this country. And so it's something we need to be mindful of always. And I'm not saying just give away free gear, but in terms of advice as well, sharing your knowledge and putting your inspirations out there in the world. You know, in other words, don't keep everything for yourself. Don't think that everything exists in this selfish little bubble of yours. It's a very important lesson there to be learned, because you don't know what can flourish from that. And inevitably, things do tend to flourish when we start to share a little bit among ourselves. And also absolutely, and a great lesson is also to keep going. Like, you lost your camera, you lost the laptop, things do crash around you, things get lost and stolen from around you. But keeping your head in the game, I know it's easier said than done, but it's always a story of not giving up. And I think you're serving here as a testament to that. And so a huge inspiration, you know, just the fact that you kept going. You know, that in itself is very well done.
Thank you very much, Conrad.
So 1300D, did you change from that? Like, have you upgraded?
Oh, yes. Yes,
and also in terms
I upgraded.
Go ahead.
Oh, I upgraded from I still have that because it, you know, it carries so much memory for me. I'll never let it go until maybe I have to do like a helping hand situation where I find somebody doing or struggling to shoot, but they have the love for it. I'll actually assist in that regard. I'll probably borrow it out or something like that. But yeah, so I upgraded 2 years ago when I went to Canon. Actually, I love Canon. you know, or maybe because I haven't shot with anything else. I've shot with a Nikon before, but I think between Nikon and Canon, I'm actually liking Canon quite a lot. So,
I think go from Canon to Nikon, everything is back to front.
you know what I'm saying?
Different direction. You guys know a lot.
I've shot this video with a
different.
Sony Alpha before, and I was like, "Woof, that's a complete 360." But but what I'm using now is a Canon 60 Mark II. So that's beautiful. I'm using a 15mm lens, prime lens. I like using that, especially when I go to events and stuff, because I love shooting portraits at events. It's very unconventional, but I love what people give me when I shoot like portraits at events and stuff like that. So I normally like just take my 60, go to an event, shoot, and I've been told that actually my energy is quite attractive when I'm working. They're like, dude, you come through with such nice vibes, and every time you ask for a picture, I feel genuinely like you really want to take me a picture and stuff like that, you know. So I take those compliments quite well, and I carry them with me.
Yeah, I think that's a difficult thing that many photographers struggle with, is kind of bringing the vibes with. Like, we obsess about camera settings and lighting and everything else. We forget that there's actually it's actually a person there standing in front of you wanting their photo taken. Meanwhile, your brain is somewhere else. So I think a couple of follow-up questions from that, like, what advice would you give somebody who is, I don't know, for lack of a better term, a bit shy and introverted around people?
When they're shy as a photographer?
Yes.
Hey man, I think it's a personality thing. I think they should just make that part of their thing, you know.
Yes.
Because you can't pretend to have the same energy as me or somebody else's. It'll come across. They will see through that, you know. They'll see the fakeness of it. So if you're shy, be shy, but you know, job has to be done still. So bring that shyness to it, and then they'll see how genuine you are regarding whether you're asking for a picture or not. Because I think if I tell them to, you know, try to be more vibey or bubbly, if it's not them, people will see that, and then you won't get a good response from whoever you're trying to shoot, you know. So I think just be yourself, and people will gravitate to that because they see how genuine you are.
I think that's a very good point. Now, if we try to fake it until you make it, or adopt different personalities, that's also going to creep into your photography as well. So
exactly,
if you fake a personality, it's going to start showing in your images, and your images are going to look or kind of feel disingenuous and not true to you. So I think that's a very important point to make. It's like, you, the personality behind the camera matters, and you kind of need to allow that to flourish instead of adopting someone else's personality. So if you are shy, kind of make it work. Yes, you can get stronger, a bit more bubbly over time, but try to take the organic approach to it as opposed to a very forced approach to it.
That's true. So whenever I'm out shooting, I'm just myself. I don't pretend to be anybody else, you know. And then somehow people gravitate to that, and it ends up being a good feeling. And then you can actually see that in the images that this person is actually happy to be taking a picture. I mean, I stopped your daily routine, or I stopped you within your movement, and then now you have to, you know, pose for me or pose for the image. So it has to come across that way after you look at the picture.
All right. Yeah, very good advice. All right. So they want to take us through the conceptualization process. So taking a little spark of an idea that you have, how do you, what steps do you take to ultimately get that into your camera? So in terms of gathering all of this information, putting everything together, like, do you have your own step-by-step process? So in other words, how do you go about conceptualizing a photo shoot and bringing it to an end result?
I do. I actually had learned. I had to learn the importance of that, because, you know, you can't just be like, oh, I have this idea, let me go out and just do that. You know, there's certain things that you have to plan out first. If it involves other people, you have to check their schedules. You have to like make them believe, or rather pitch the idea to them so well that they believe it as part of their own, so that they can give you the best of what you require from them. You know, it's one thing for me to fall in love with a concept, and then when I pitch it to whoever wants to work with, they don't believe it as much as I do. You know, it's gonna be a bit of friction when the day of the shoot happens, because they still haven't understood what I'm trying to, you know, portray or what I'm trying to capture here. So I always try to make people understand the concept first, right? And then the planning part of it actually comes easier, because then now they become as excited as I am about the concept. They're like, hey, when are we shooting? Can we shoot tomorrow? I'm like, oh, dude, I just told you about this today. Now I need to plan for the cars, and I need to make sure that the set is cool. You know, this is the location. We still have to do location scouting, you know. So when people get excited, it gives me more juice to actually get things done quickly. But planning of it, I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, he's also a photographer. So he was asking me a similar question. I'm like, it's very important to conceptualize. I mean, concepts are plenty. Conceptualize, but then plan them well, so that on the day everything goes smoothly. You don't miss anything that you were planned to do. You know, I treat it like a producer of a film. Like every scene has its time. There's a call time. There's a, we need to shoot this, or we're only going to get this in the afternoon. Oh, we need to go here. There's some guys that you have to, you know, grease hands with to get a certain location approved. Stuff like that. So I had to learn that over time, because when I was young and eager, those things didn't matter to me. I just wanted to get the shot.
Yeah.
You know, the older you get, I realized that there's importance in planning and, you know, making sure that comes out the way that you either saw it in your head, or you are referencing something that you've seen, an art for, like an art piece, or a movie that you saw, a certain scene that you want to keep it as a still, you know, something like that. So everybody has their own ways of doing it, but I found that, you know, basically we work the same as far as like creating the work to get done.
Yeah, very, very, very valid points there. And my mind is just brimming with follow-up questions here, so I'm trying to pick one here. So a model asked me the other day, what does a photo shoot normally entail? And I said to her, what you discussed beforehand. Like, there's no, this is how things always work thing that exists out there.
They're never the same.
Like, you need to talk about it beforehand, and what you talk about, what you establish, all the expectations that you put in your conversations and planning, that is what happens on a day. Like, don't expect the unexpected, or go in thinking that things should just happen the way you are, because if people are not on the same page, chaos happens on a day.
Exactly.
Plus, people get very excited when you plan together.
Exactly.
Study.
We are on the same
study that
idea.
Yes. You know, the study that I read, when people go out, you know, partying, going to the nightclub, there may be some drinks and stuff involved, you're having a good time. People was asked in the study afterwards, what was the most exciting part of it? And most people said getting ready with your friends, like planning for the event.
Planning for the event. That's true.
Yeah, so I think that works in the industry as well, our industry, that getting people on the same page, sharing ideas, like seeing an idea bubble into this very fantastic, sparkly thing. That's very important, not only from planning aspect, but getting everybody on a similar page and vibe as well. Very important to discuss all these things beforehand.
I like that part as well. Like before I go out, planning an outfit, putting things together, trying new things. By the time you get to the actual event, you're just like, I've been good with this. I've been ready. I've been here.
Yeah,
this event has already happened in my head.
All right. Yeah. So I think what we could do now is, you mentioned in your feature that you travel a lot. So do you want to give us a bit of insight into that? So what initially sparked your interest there? Kind of leaving the household, leaving the town, and going everywhere else. You know, what sparked your interest in that?
I think my first big leaving or trip, if I could say, was actually leaving my hometown, because I had gotten to a point where I felt I was doing well as a photographer. I was quite well known around the hood, in my town, and So I was like, man, I feel like a big fish in a small pond, you know? So I wanted to expand my pond. And I knew that the Johannesburg or the Gauteng scene would be challenging, but it's something that would make me grow. So that was like my first trip leaving home in Mokopane, coming to Joburg, no plan, just like, okay, I'll plan once I arrive. But the first big move I had to do was leave. And then things went well, you know, you kind of see people, you energize, you get along with people, things come up, work gets done, all stuff like that. And then my first, like my big trip, where did I go? We went to Switzerland, right?
Very
Went to Switzerland for some
jealous.
work.
Very jealous, but go on.
And that's something that I've actually, like, a lot of my friends always, we talked about it. We're like, yo, dude, I would love to travel with a camera, a laptop, nothing more. I mean, just a sneaker here and there, jeans, pants, whatever, and just go. And then this opportunity came up where we had to shoot some content for MultiChoice abroad, right? So the first stop was Switzerland, and then from Switzerland to Romania. So I think they were doing some international meet and greet with artists from SA meeting Romanian government, you know, to say, hey guys, we're a country, would like to meet you, stuff like that. So I was in charge of getting the content that side. And then it was great, man. It was a whole different, it was a whole different country. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's great. It was really beautiful. And then, you know, all went well that side. And I think the next trip that I took was to Dubai. You know, like there was this other client that wanted me to shoot her birthday content that side. And I was like, I mean, I'm sure there are photographers in Dubai, you know, but I appreciated the opportunity. I'm like, oh, okay, well, let's see what this is about, you know. And then we bounced, like, just got a passport ready, all that e-visa business, flew to Dubai for a week. We did the things, everything went well. Upon my return from Dubai, I had another work that I had to do in Cape Town. So I just kind of like stayed 2 days at home and then flew to It was crazy. It was really crazy.
Obviously, with all of these trips, you learn new things, learn new cultures, learn new ways of doing things, etc., etc. Was there any one or two things that really adjusted your views and something that you brought back home?
Yeah, working at night in Romania was a mind blow for me. Like, people just walk around at 2 a.m. with their phones in hand, laughing, girls in the street. I'm like, this would not happen in South Africa. This would not be the thing in SA, you know? So that was kind of like, oh, like, people do things differently out here. And what I liked the most, because I'm really into fashion also. So women in Romania dressed so dope, man. More than the gents. The gents are just like, you know, flip-flops, shorts. My God, Conrad. They are to the nines. Everywhere, like, it was so dope for me because I love shooting also fashion stuff. So I just took my camera, walked around the streets, and I took strangers' pictures. I was like, can I take your picture? They're like, sure. Where can I get it? Where are you from? Because obviously they can tell by my accent that I'm not from around. Where are you from? South Africa. Oh, wow, we've heard about South Africa. I met these other kids going to school. They ended up not even going to school. We ended up chilling. Not my idea. It was not my idea. So
It's putting it out there, not my fault.
we just decided to go to school that day, and then we ended up chilling the whole day. They took me around. I had my camera with me. I took them pictures skating, walking around. They showed me some places. It was really dope. I felt very safe and welcomed.
Yeah, so I'm a big fantasy fan, and
Mhm.
like a storytelling recipe people follow is called the hero's journey, and you explain it perfectly. Feeling like a big fish in a small pond,
Yeah,
and you want to go out on an adventures and discover what else is out there, and learn new things. But obviously, bringing that back home, that's kind of the end of the hero's journey, bringing all of that new
yeah,
learnings and those treasures and all those supernatural powers back home
mm,
and improving the homestead
yeah.
again. Yeah, so that's how you complete your journey. I don't know if you have any examples of that, maybe like how do you bring all of this back home?
So what I think for the what was it? I don't know if I did it this year. I don't think I did this year. It was like crazy, especially after COVID and whatnot. What I used to do is when I was home, maybe for like a weekend or a week, visiting like my grandparents and whatnot, I would host photo walks. I'd
Yes.
invite anyone,
Mm.
like I would put it on my WhatsApp or put it on Facebook, Instagram. Hey guys, if you have your phone with you,
Mm.
your camera, if you're still learning, come through. We'll meet at this place. We'll take a walk from this place to that place. We take pictures of anything. So what I would do, I'd give like a theme. Like, okay, I think the last thing I
Mm.
remember that I did was um, everything broken. So we just went
Mm.
around the
Nice.
street
Like that, huh?
shooting everything that looked broken, but it's still beautiful within the art
Mm.
of it. If you shoot it well, it becomes artistic. So we walked
Mm.
around, and also I like involving local vendors because I'd say we'll stop by here for some food, we'll pass by here for some drinks, stop by
Mm.
here for certain things, so that it's not only about me, it's also shining light on like local
Yes.
vendors to be
Mm.
involved in the photo walk and stuff like that. So we'd walk, people like a whole, probably like 20 of us just walking in the street. We look weird and crazy. We have our cameras, we have our phones. You know, we're
Uh-huh.
taking, you know, we're taking pictures of everything. And after that, what I asked them to do, I'm like, send me your best 5 images of that and
Mm-hmm.
post on my Instagram, tagging or mentioning this is this person's work,
Yes.
this is this person's work, and then after all of that, I post mine, and then they can see, oh, okay, we're not too far from this guy. We're seeing things the way that he does on a regular basis, you know.
Mm.
Because as much as
Yeah,
I have
so
2 eyes, I still use my third eye to shoot images.
mm. That's a good point. So, yeah, so if you come the hero of your journey, the master of your journey, which is very commendable and very appreciated, but obviously you can't stagnate. Now the cycle continues, it starts over.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? Yeah, so you've done all this great work, but what's in the pipeline?
Oof. The pipeline. Uh, I'm going back and forth about this because I've been planning it for so many years now. Putting together like a photo book, you know, of
Mm.
content that has been seen, has not been seen. Like, obviously there's some images that I haven't released because I want to use them for such a thing, and then there are some that are out there, but people love them. So adding them to the coffee table book would be amazing. Um,
Mm.
People are really gravitating towards the Blacker the Berry, which was a series that I did 2 3 years ago, highlighting and focusing on heavily melanated people, dark skinned South
Mm-hmm.
African, dark skinned Africans, ladies, men, children, all that stuff. It's been featured on like 5 international magazines. I'm
Oh,
even
wow.
selling them as like prints. You can actually get a print and then
Mm.
have it in your house and stuff like that. So I want to go back to that that part of the art and do more in that regard. So
Mm.
like I want to make sure that I don't lose that because it's something that I can't just do it within a small space of time. It's something that I think I should just
No.
focus on always.
No, I can't wait to see that happen, Ben. Hey, looking
I
forward to it. Definitely get on it. It sounds like a fantastic idea, and we can't see and wait for how it unfolds in the near future.
Yeah, it's
And
coming. It's
nearly
coming.
forgot. I nearly
Yeah, yeah.
forgot. Do you want to talk about your photos? Just a handful that you
Yeah,
gave
yeah,
us.
yeah. Let's get into it. I'm seeing like comments of people that are People are commenting for days out here.
Yeah, so
oh yeah, this was
sorry to
was
interrupt, Gabriel. Just wanted to quickly say I see a lot of comments, and we do appreciate the comments. The reason I'm
yeah.
not reading
Thank you
them
for
out
coming,
loud is
guys.
because I don't see questions. If
Yeah,
you
guys,
guys have
throwing some
questions to ask,
We have somebody, can I have Canon 50mm
yeah, I
presses and
saw
how can
that
I
one as
get it?
well. Let's have a
Oh,
look.
somebody's asking about how they can get a hold of a Canon 50mm lens. I'm based in Limpopo, Toyando. Oh, that's vendor. I think, well, when coming to lenses, you just check them online, man. I think I got mine from Take a Lot. But you guys also have lenses that people can buy, you know.
Yeah, outside no lenses. So we do basically everything except cameras and lenses. Yeah, so
You
stuff for
lie.
cameras.
Real.
Yeah, so we do lighting and backdrops and like batteries and remotes and things like that.
Okay.
The camera market and the lens market is, yeah, it's not an us
It's
thing.
not
Like we
what
do
you do.
everything else, but it's not the lenses. Yeah,
Oh,
so
you
the
guys
Canon
do.
50mm, I think, as a starting point, is a great choice. That 50mm prime, and
It's a prime.
that's a very good one.
It'll teach you how to
Um,
focus much better on
yeah,
images.
very correct job. So it's you zoom in and out with your feet type of thing. So
Yeah.
don't get lazy with the multi-zoom lens where you have an 18 to 500mm lens. Like you have to move around and get the right angles and get in the right spot. Yeah, I think the 50mm is indeed a great choice. Yeah, so in terms of pricing and whatnot, yeah, as mentioned, just like if you want to buy
I think a
brand
good
new,
price
they are plentiful out there.
for a 50mm lens, a good price would be like around 2K.
Yeah.
You can probably get one around like 2K. Yeah. Depending on which type of lens it is, because there are still a 50mm lens that are like quite expensive, and that's a different f-stops and stuff like that, like the lower f-stop or something like that.
Now the 51.8 will serve you well. Will definitely serve you well.
Yeah,
it's
like 50mm
very
1.8.
small. We got a 2.8 as well. Yeah, it's the 1.4 that tends to be quite expensive, but that's a very specialized lens.
The 1.4s,
yeah, super
they're
low.
quite pricey.
Yeah, but that 51.8, like if it's your first lens, definitely that would be my recommendation as well.
That's true. Yeah, it'll be dope.
All right, so
I hope we answered your question there, Zax, Mr. Payne from Toyando.
Now you can also trust online shops. So
yeah,
you have it delivered to your location as well. So you don't necessarily need to look around. Ask for advice. Ask for friends. Certain people on the Instagrams will help you out as well. You can even drop us a message. Like we don't sell lenses, but we would happily recommend shops. But,
you'll recommend
well.
a few places that they can get without, they're trustworthy and stuff like that. Oh,
of course, yeah.
My friend Bob is in here. Commented, really, really amazing, huge fan. That's my friend Bob right there.
Good to see friends and family coming in. All right, so I rudely interrupted you when you started explaining this photo. So, I'm giving the floor back to you. Please explain to us. So what we do in this section is we give you the floor, you talk about these photos, and I shut up for 5 minutes.
Okay, so getting into this one, this girl is called Jozi. We go to the similar events. We love like almost similar events. So this one was an event called Strictly Hip Hop. They were hosting an international act called Bass. So they asked me to come through and shoot portraits of the guests and the people that were there and stuff. So I like shooting her because like she's easy to shoot, man. She has a very expressive face. I feel like she has been a model before or something like that. She's quite easy to shoot. So she called me out. She's like, hey, come through. Let's get a shot here. And I was like, okay, cool. Let me set up my things. I bounced the light. I was using a speed light, and I bounced the light on the ceiling, and then so that you can wash down on her quite well. And you can see by the pose that she knew it was coming. It was not a candid shot. She knew exactly what she was doing.
Yeah, that's it's very underrated, bouncing the speed light off a ceiling. That improves your shot instantly. So if things don't tend to work out, just bounce the light off something. Bounce it off a wall,
the light off
the
something
ceiling.
clear, and then
yes,
it'll give you what you need.
Absolutely, yeah. So with that bouncing effect, you're creating a different trajectory of light. So from side on or from top down, it creates a more natural, quote unquote, more natural light. What speed light is it? Like, what
Hmm?
is your preferred? What speed light do you use?
It's a Godox. It's a Godox speed
Mm.
light. I forgot the name of it. There's like some designations, like some TT something. But yeah, it's a Godox speed light. Yeah, it's there's nothing more I can say about that because then the numbering is quite tricky to remember.
Mm. Is it the one that uses AA batteries or the block
Yes,
battery?
it uses like a AA batteries and whatnot.
Mm. Yeah, I'm still good to use both. And as we can see, get the results done is how you,
You
at
know,
the
it
end of the
gets
day, is how you use it. It's not strictly what you use.
exactly. I used to feel like I need to get like the best camera to, but I realized
Mm.
that if you set it right, things will happen for you, man. You make
I'm very certain if you asked people how you got this shot, they'll probably say like 30,000 Rand light and 20,000 Rand softbox, etc., etc. Meanwhile, it's a speed light on a camera bounced off a ceiling. Now, it's a lot to learn in photography how to get a shot, and you don't necessarily need fancy equipment. All of that
yeah,
handles the practical side of things, but when it comes to the shot, creativity, etc., you
it's
can
all
use
on the
minimal
shooter.
equipment to get a fantastic shot, and the shooter as well. Very good points.
That's true. Let me.
All
Can you pull in
right,
the next image?
sure. Loading. Okay.
Whew. Yeah, this one. Hey, this one is giving me great dreams. This was the beginning of the Blacker the Berry series. I
Mm.
started the series in January, like early Jan. I think probably like what was it the date? Some like early Jan because I remember when I called this girl. I think she's in high school. When I called her, it was her birthday. It was her birthday on this date. Went to her house. I picked her up. I was with my camera assistant Vincent. I was with him. We went, picked her up, and then we picked the other guy who was in the picture with her. Picked them up, and then we went to like the rural areas of Mokopane.
Mm.
I think it was Apela, something like that. We went there. I got these cloth from my aunt because she's a seamstress. She's a designer. So I got the cloths from her stack of cloths. And I wanted the yellow to be my
Mm.
first color because I was like every shoot has its own color associated with the shoot. So
Mm.
this one was like more of the yellow side of things. We went to that place. It was like by the mountain. We did this shoot by the mountain. We got
Mm.
there. Loved how her skin was so healthy and glossy. But also we applied a couple of uh, lotions that will make it more smoother like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, can't go
Clever.
wrong with Vaseline, bro. Just put some and then makes everybody feel like home. So
Mm.
we did the shoot. Liked how they came out when they were in their raw like images, and then once I took them to Lightroom to touch them up a little bit, it came out like this, and I was like, "This is it. I don't want to
No,
add
this
or
is.
take out or anything. This is it. I've reached it. This is it."
Mm. Yeah, I
So
agree. I agree
great.
100%. This is a very, very eye-catching image. Like a lot to like about this, not only in
You know what I'm
terms of
saying? It's well
the
framed.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a connection with model, with the viewer, that being us, looking back at the image. This is like a very eye-catching, but only also in terms of color. The colors work well
Mm,
here, with the
mm.
yellow complementing the greens, but the
Green
blue
so well. Even
in our
the tone
highlights
of
as well.
skin. Yeah.
Mm.
She could not
That's a
believe
very,
it when
very.
I saw the picture after I edited. She could not believe it was her.
Mm. So, a
Apparently,
question I have is,
yeah.
how do you make people feel comfortable around you? So, obviously, you spoke about having good vibes, so we've covered that. Do you have like any other tips and tricks that you can share with people in terms of how to get the best out of a model?
Uh, oosh. I don't know if it's like a thing, but I think it always goes back to that. Like, because I'm comfortable,
Mm.
then for some reason it kind of transfers, the energy
Yeah.
transfers to them. You know, they feel very at ease, and you know, and I always direct them, because I've dealt with other people that were really, really shy on set. You know, they have the look, and then they'll have the eyes, and the features will be great, but you know, if you don't have the, if you don't believe what you're doing is worth something, or it's cool, the way that I have to make you believe it by getting excited about what we're doing, you know. So once they see me being excited, I think they kind of
Yes.
their guard, and then they give me what I ask for them, and I tell them how to stand and look and all that stuff. You know, she could have smiled on this picture, but it wouldn't have been the same. So I wanted her no smiling, no show of emotion, keep everything very neutral and, you know, lifeless. But then the image will give it life.
Yes, yes, I understand. Yeah, so something you mentioned earlier was when you showed her the picture, she kind of immediately resonated with it. So there's something photographers need to be mindful of, like let the models participate, let them see the photos, you know. Don't keep things for yourself and think that things are going well or not well. Like, yeah, get the models involved. As I said, people love participating.
Exactly.
And when they see themselves in a shot, it's like an instant shoot in confidence as well.
She got really, really famous at her school after these pictures came out.
Good. All right. So we have a question. You ready,
Yeah,
Gabriel?
I see. Let me start. Okay.
That's
Let me
on
see.
top.
Oh, from Abigail, did you have to teach yourself how to conceptualize how a picture will actually come out, or just comes to you naturally? Oh, yeah. So to answer Abigail, there's two ways regarding conceptualization, right? There's ones where you have to plan everything to a T, right? Because you want to achieve what you've thought of in your head, and then some of these things, you're right, they come to me naturally. It's not something you can. Um, some of them, like some of the concepts are not taught, and then some of them are coming from an inspiration that I've seen growing up. Either it could be a film, could be an art for like an art piece, could be music, could be like it comes from different things. But some of them, they just come without any reference at all. They just come into my head, and then I have to find a way to capture that or bring that to fruition. So I hope
you learn
I
to be
Abigail.
you learn to be adaptable as well. Like you can
Yeah,
plan 100% for something. Like this needs to happen. These are the colors we're using. This is the wardrobe we're using. These are the poses that we're using. But things tend to flourish on a day in a different direction, and you kind of need to trust your heart and intuition as well. And I think this is also the underrated thing about photography is listening to your heart on the day, in a manner of speaking. That sounds very cheesy, but
yeah.
we
That
learn
gut
to be
feeling,
intuitive with one another and learn to read one another and bounce off one another. And that's when magic happens on the day. So you can plan as much as you want, but things tend to happen on the day as well.
yeah. I really stand behind trusting my gut. You know, I feel like that's a very connected to the universe feeling that every human being has. So you know, it's I really trust my gut when it comes to um, conceptualizing and being able to let things go. Like, I mean, as much as I want to control every little thing on set or whatever, sometimes I just have to let go and trust the gut. You know, work from the gut.
Yeah. So sort of about earlier,
From Soho, yeah, out for big oh, I think it's also like self uh, so socializing, you know. I think when you spend a lot of time with people that actually are event runners, and then you want to be a part of that in the sense of I want to work with you guys. You meet them, you get the energy. Most of the jobs or most of the gigs that I get, it's people that I've met face to face before, and they just kind of loved the energy that I bring, regardless if I have my camera with me. And then they're like, "Would like to work with this guy because clearly it's somebody that you can, besides the work, you can grab a beer with and not get bored and stuff like that." You know, they like having to work with people that they can also chill with after work gets done. You know, when it's time to work, we get to work, but also we can still chill and be people at the end of the day about it. You know, and then sometimes I just go to an event. I pay my own money. I go to an event. I bring my camera. I shoot the way that I would like to see that event, and then I send them the images. I'm like, this is what I saw your event being. And then the next time they're like, I think this is what we want. And then
yes, it's a very good point.
That, yeah.
All right, so I'm experiencing some
So
connection issues from my side. Hopefully everybody is okay their side. Things may get a little bit choppy, but yeah, the show goes on. So if I can get comments in the comment section as to the quality of the feed at the moment, if it's okay or not. Otherwise, I need to start tinkering with things my side. I don't know if things are okay your side, Gabriel?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly. You're not freezing or anything like that. But there was a bit of time where I felt like you were a bit choppy, but I think it's cool now.
Okay, cool. Good. Show must go on.
Next image if you don't mind.
Of course. So
Oh. Oh, Khotso. This is this is my sister's kid. It was a continuation of the Blacker the Berry, right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to use different people, obviously, for each series of the pictures. So he was just running around the house, and I was like, why am I not using this boy? So I asked the mom's permission. She gave me the permission to use him because I told her, I'm like, there's a big chance that these images are gonna be out there. I hope you don't mind if that's the case. And then she was like, no, it's not a problem. And I even promised to make a print of it and give it to the mom, which I did. She loved it. We went somewhere in the Bundus also. I liked keeping the images where it's mostly like natural landscapes, not buildings or city life or something like that. I wanted to keep it as the feeling of it, the set, the mood of it has to be connected to each other. So we went into the field. This was like probably somebody's farm that we had asked permission to use. This is a cornfield. Yeah, this is a cornfield. We went there. It was him, and then the other. She was with another girl called Mabu. I also asked permission from their mom because I think she's 14, 15.
Yeah.
And then I used face paint to get the lines there, just to give it more of a warrior, like a young warrior feel to it. He loved it, man. He had so much fun, because
he's playing the part. He's in it.
He's definitely the face just sells it.
Yes,
he's feeling it. He's within the moment. I love it.
So, a question I have from my side, a couple of technical questions, if I may.
Yeah, sure.
How do you go about choosing flash versus natural light? Like, is there a methodology to approach? Is it just a case of if the ambient light's good enough, choose ambient light? Do you always have your flash with you in case? Like, what's the process with you, like choosing between ambient versus flash?
Oh, yeah. So, actually, with flash photography, right, I only started doing flash photography when I got the 6D. Most of the time I used to use like natural light, find a way to just make it work for me, because obviously natural light sometimes get a bit tricky, especially when you want to keep away from the shadows and stuff like that. So I would either use a reflector or a diffuser if I want to avoid such things if I'm shooting within daytime. But then started learning how to use the flash, and I was like, I use it when I need it. It's not like my go-to. It's hardly my go-to, but I use it when I need to.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't
I
just.
get people who tend, I
On
get
it.
people out there, photographers who are a little bit too flash dependent, and they kind of miss out
Yeah,
on
no,
some
I
lovely
know, I
ambient
know a
lights.
few.
Mm.
It's part of their
So
work,
you
I guess.
meant,
They
yes,
love,
of course, yeah, but
yeah,
so you mentioned how everything needs to blend in with one another. Everything needs to feel like it's part of one picture. Everything needs to feel intuitive with one another, like the background, the foreground, the objects, the expression, the model. Everything needs to be natural in energy with one another.
yeah.
So here's a question: what is your opinion about AI? So the idea of AI, generative AI, adding bits and pieces to a scene, kind of not going out there getting the shot, but kind of generating the shot in a computer.
Ish. See, AI. Ish. I'm at the moment. I'm not loving it. At the moment, it might evolve into something good maybe as time goes. But right now, I am not loving how photographers or people use it to create things that are not real. I mean, yes, it will come out amazing and yada yada yada, but I'm not a big fan of it currently. Like, there's photography, there's a feeling to it, man. You
Yeah.
know. So I think AI kind of just takes away the feeling of shooting, the feeling of sitting down and looking at your subject, editing, and falling in love with the picture and falling it out of love with it and falling in love with it back again. And so it's like McDonald's burger versus food.
Something homemade.
Yeah,
Mm.
you can't beat the homemade stuff, even if yes, the convenience of it being quicker when you get it at Mickey D's that fast, but you know very well at the end of the day it's not good. I
Yeah.
hope
I
that
think
makes sense about it.
AI is a very big topic. For better or for
Yo,
worse,
hey,
it's around the corner. It's going to happen. Now we just have to see how things unfold in the near future. I think
yeah,
this time
people are
next
moving
year we're going to
with
be
baby
the
thing.
deep end of the.
Yeah, people are still using it not wisely. They're just using it. So hopefully it gets to a point where it's used well and in a good way. But at
Yes,
this point now, what I'm seeing, it's really,
spooky.
yeah, it's very spooky.
That kind of reminds me of Jurassic Park. We have to wait for the dinosaurs to eat us before we decide it was a bad
You know what I'm
idea.
saying?
So I think yes.
Like
All
just
right. So
oh
next
man.
image. Oh, this is my favorite one.
Oh
Go
bro.
ahead.
Let me tell you something, Conrad. This guy,
Yes.
not to not to sully his good name or anything. This dude, like I don't know if you're actually aware of such a thing. In almost like in an area or like a Kasi or a hood, there's always that guy who just loves drinking alcohol. Like day,
Uh-huh.
night, it doesn't matter. He's this dude. He was always late, always drunk. But I saw something there, like besides from the lifestyle that he chose. I saw something in him. I'm like, dude, for this series that I'm doing, you'd be perfect. And then he was like, what do you mean, my brother? What I explained everything to him. He was like, for you, let's go, let's do this thing. When do you want to do it? I told him the date. We did the shoot. When the images came out, he was the talk of the town. People
Ah,
don't
okay.
believe
Nice.
that is that same guy that we always see drunk, just being carefree. Who is this guy? Who's Gap showing us? I think from that, it kind of just changed his perspective on things. He's very focused now.
Oh wow,
He has this,
wow,
like,
that's amazing.
food
Well done.
joints. He's selling food. You know, I remember when he opened his shop, I actually went there. I bought some food. We chilled for a little bit. He told me the story of how people were responding to his images and they're congratulating him. And, you know, it kind of just lit a fire under his butt. So he kind of saw himself the way that I saw him during the shoot. He was like, coming from this,
Wow.
I can't go back to that same guy.
Yeah, so that's what we spoke about right at the beginning. That's the biggest compliment you can receive when somebody says, you're showing me in a different light, like you're showing a different side of me. And then otherwise, as you said, spark something in a person and it can create some good positive change behavior as well. And we need to keep that spark going as photographers. You know, that's a positive impact that we can contribute to the world. And we should never let go of our cameras. We have a role to play
This
here.
friend of mine who actually likes calling what I do, or rather what photography is immortalizing people. Like eventually, 100 years from now, we'll all be gone. And then these images have to speak for us. They have to say, this guy was this guy and did this. And sometimes I have a bit of like a retrospective when I think about the weddings that I've shot, the birthdays, the baby showers, you know, celebratory events where, you know, people actually look at those images and be like, yo, this was amazing. You know, this happened. And then we have proof because of 1, 2, 3. And like, it hits me sometimes. I don't take that for granted at all.
No, never do. I think if you start taking that for granted, you know, it's put the camera down. Like this is something we should always chase.
Just you're losing something there. Ooh.
Yes.
Hey.
Right. Give us a chat here.
Oh man. This first, the location, right? The location, this was at Romanian House of Parliament.
Yeah.
Right. Honor, it's a phone company. They had reached out to me and said they love my stuff on Instagram. Would I mind?
Mr. Ambassador?
Huh?
Mr. Ambassador, eh?
Yeah, man, you know. We try. So they approached me.
I'm complimenting you. No, I'm not. Yeah, I'm complimenting you. That's a good achievement, you know, being an ambassador for a company and being approached. Yeah, so I'm not being smug about it. It's
no.
something you can pat yourself on the back with. Yeah.
So they approached me and said, "Hey, we are releasing this phone called Honor Magic 4 Pro. We love it for the camera is amazing. Please check it out. See if it's something that you want to sink your teeth in." I was like, okay, cool. Send me the product. Let me see what it's about. Let me see how the camera works. And dude, I'm still using that phone. It's amazing.
Wow, nice.
I'm still using it now. It takes great images. So they were running this campaign where you shoot images and you send them like 5 a month. And then I told them about my trip to Romania. They were like, oh, that's great. Get us some images when you're that side. We'll share it with the Honor Romania team. And they did that. And something dope actually came out of that. Like they actually sponsored my day-to-day up and downs financially in Romania. So I took this inside the parliament. This was inside the parliament. This was like the smoking area part of it. So I was just there grabbing a smoke, and then I saw it from wherever I was standing, and I was like, this would be so cool if I shoot it from a low angle looking up, because the buildings, there's a part where they're shaded and there's a part where the light hits it quite well, you know, the architecture part of it, because that's what I actually studied at school. I studied architecture. So seeing buildings like this, like sparked that in me, the connection between photographs and architecture. So
it's interesting how things that we did in the past kind of connects the dots into what we do in the future.
You know
so
what I'm
we
saying?
never connect the dots between architecture and photography, but here you
know
are.
What I'm saying?
You saw a moment and you captured it. Yes.
I saw it and I was like, let me get this right now, because the light after maybe an hour wouldn't be at that same spot. You know?
Yeah, I think there's a good lesson there to be learned. Doesn't matter where you are today, it will be useful in the future. It may not be exactly the same trajectory as what you thought it would be. Now, for example, you studied architecture, you probably envisioned yourself as an architecture down the pipeline, but here you are as a photographer. But you're still using bits and pieces of what you learned in the past and you're combining it with what you're doing today. Now, I spoke
Yeah,
to photographer Tabang was his name, and he was a professional poker player. Now he's a photographer. Now he's telling me how he uses that skill of reading people in his photography. And it's
imagine.
advancing and providing an advantage to his portraiture because he's
We-
good at reading people. He's good at reading facial expressions. And so he's putting all of that in a blender and it's proving advantageous to his work.
Yeah, it makes him stand out on his own, and
Yes.
everybody has their thing. Everybody has their
All right.
thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where you are today, don't take it for granted. You may not end up where you thought you may go, but you're going to use bits and pieces of everything that you've learned in the future. It's all about evolving little bit by little bit. So don't be too tough on yourself.
And because we are so close to evolving, we don't see it. And other people that actually have been following your work, they see it. They're like, dude,
yes,
2 years or a year ago, you were not at this level that you are now. But because we are so close to it, you're thinking, but man, I want to get to this level. I want to get here. I want to get here. And they're like, be glad you're not where you were, though.
Yes, good point.
You might not see it, but you definitely moved.
I told somebody today, like a person who's probably annoyed at you every time you criticize yourself is the person that you were 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, you would appreciate where you are today, but here you are criticizing yourself and down
because
talking
now you're
yourself.
in it.
Like, yes. So I personally tend to have a conversation with my quote unquote younger self every now and then. And I don't take for granted where I was 10 years ago and where I am today. Like that shows personal growth. I am in competition with myself. I'm not in competition with other people. And I think if you start comparing yourself to others, that's where things get a little bit messy.
That's where things get a bit choppy and dicey. That's when things go sideways, and you don't want that.
Absolutely. Question I have about technology. So, being an ambassador for Honor, where do you see smartphones occupying the photographic landscape in the near future? Do you think it will always be a case of photographer one hand, camera one hand, and smartphone in the other hand, or do you see the two overlapping some point in the near future?
I really don't think they're going to overlap. I think, I mean, there are really dope phones that take dope images out there, but also it's who is doing the shots, because I mean, giving you a sniper does not make you an assassin,
Yeah.
So I can give you like the dopest phones to shoot whatever you're supposed to shoot. It's so funny that my younger sister uses an iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Only not so long ago, I showed her on her iPhone when she was shooting something. I'm like, do you know that you can actually control the lights?
Yes.
Only by pressing where the focus point is, it gives you an option of going either down and you can dim it down with the light, or take it really up so it can open up for more light to come in. She was gobsmacked. She was so surprised. Wow, I didn't know that you could. So because you know what aperture is, and you know what lighting should look like, what, and that's a photographer's thing. When it's just somebody else, I feel like they just, did I get the shot? Okay, cool, we got the shot. Oh, did I get the shot? Okay, cool, we got the shot. So with the camera phones, yes, I mean, they'll give you all the megapixels, all that stuff, but at the end of the day, the photographer's eye is still very important.
Yeah, I think the smartphone is a great learning tool. It is an excellent learning tool. Like you spoke about the cyber shot that you started off with. I think the iPhone is probably 100 times better than the cyber shot that we used to have when we started out. Now, so it's an excellent learning tool. And I think to some extent there may be overlap in the future, but a couple of points I want to make is I think with cameras, it's an optical issue. Like a smartphone has optical restraints. You can't put a massive lens on a smartphone. That's where the big cameras come in. Like if you want that 500 millimeter, a smartphone can fake 500 millimeter lens, but it won't
Yeah,
produce the same results at all.
yeah.
But for the time being, if you have a smartphone, use it as a learning tool.
Use it as a learning tool. Yeah.
Capable of taking great images. As you said, you can control the light exposure, shutter speed, ISO, aperture, etc. Like I mentioned, like this is better than the cyber shots that we had 10 years ago.
My first event that I got booked at was a friend's event. He was doing like a hip hop event. I had not opened my camera yet, right? So because he trusted my eye, I shot the whole event on an iPhone 4. It came out beautiful. He still reminds me today. He's like, dude, I gave you your first gig and you used an iPhone 4 to shoot it. Now he's like,
the results were good.
Event space. We partner up. We do like an event almost every 3 months or so, where I get the content, he plans it out, and all that stuff. So it's crazy how like that was like a learning tool, also because I knew what I wanted to get. The angles were important, the controlling of light, the editing, all of that.
Yeah, so it's just to reiterate the point, that smartphone that you have, just speaking to the audience out there, is an excellent learning tool and you'll get amazing shots with it. So don't think you can't be a photographer without the big, quote unquote, big camera. Like the smartphone can get you a very, very long way.
Yeah, actually iPhone hosts like photography awards and stuff like that. Like
of course,
yeah, like the awards that pictures of taken with some of the pictures that I see, I'm just like, wow. It's a shot on a phone, so using your phone should not limit you to take pictures if photography is what you love. Just get out there and just shoot something.
Yeah, my first photographic gig was shooting a heavy metal concert, and the camera I used had 1.4 megapixels. So thinking back how the smartphone advanced, like you can't say just because you don't have a bigger camera, you can't learn a trade. Like that's a lot of technology in the smartphone now.
That's just ridiculous.
Use it and use it as a learning tool to progress.
1 point. Oh, those megapixels are I can just think
of I know. It was
horrible.
All right, so I have more questions from my side. You touched on it earlier, wanting to not touch an image too much in terms of post-production. But how important is post-production in the overall scheme of things in your personal work?
Okay. Post-production, or rather editing, for those that don't understand what post-production is, it's the feeling that you want the picture to give the viewer, right? That's how I look at it. And that's why, compared to other photographers, maybe they would stick to one similar style of edit, right? Just to also be easily recognizable on their work and stuff. I choose different styles of editing because I feel every picture taken, or rather every picture I've taken for a certain event, has to give a different vibe and feel. Each edit gives it a vibe and feel. Just like you can't use the same editing style you use for a rock concert into a wedding or a church. It's a different feeling. It's a different place. You can choose to keep it very clean and less edited. That's okay. That's also dope if you do it well. And if also you're trying to edit in a way that gives it a different color to it, a warmth or coldness, that's okay. My only issue with editing is over editing.
Yeah.
When the pictures start to not look like a picture anymore. It's starting to, you're losing what you shot originally.
Yes.
There's a fine line between a picture that looks too edited and none at all, or just keeping it very original the way it was. There's sometimes I've seen other images where people's faces look orange like a pumpkin. I'm just like, oh. don't lose the reality of it too much, because
Yes.
we know that there's no way somebody's skin can look orange. So excuse my language, you effed it up. Like, why is this person looking orange, man, or red? Like, just you're just out here looking too red.
That's a tanning booth effect. Like, you overcooked it in a tanning booth.
Yeah, exactly, the tanning booth effect. And I'm just like, I mean, okay, if the client likes it, cool. I mean, different strokes for different folks. But I'm just like, me personally, I would like to keep it, as much as it can have color manipulation of clothing and so forth and so forth. It should still look, as real, as close to real life as possible.
Yeah, I think we've all been there as photographers when we start over-editing our photos. It's kind of like a rite of passage thing. Like, we all have that phase where we over-edit and we don't know our boundaries, we don't know our thresholds, and eventually you kind of pull it back a little bit. And obviously, when you look back at your work from 10 years ago, you think, what did I do here? But as I said, it's kind of like a rite of passage. You kind of learn to train your eye. And with post-processing plays in it as well. So it's a lot to unpackage here in terms of post-processing. It's a very big topic. As advanced as cameras are, as expensive as cameras are, they still struggle to capture what your eye sees. So to bring an image up to the level to what you saw on a day, I think that's perfectly fine. So a bit of tinkering here and there is great. But as I said, we all have our little boundaries as to what is too much and what is too little.
Get to, So even now, I'm currently learning how to retouch with Photoshop, because obviously certain clients require retouch and stuff like that. But I'm starting to see that everywhere. Like, I feel like retouching, for me, it's like editorial. You know what I'm saying? Like, it feels very editorial, advertised, and a commercial appeal to it. There's use it well. It's a tool. Use it well. That's how we grew up. Seeing a cover on a magazine, it has to be retouched because product that they're selling. It's but then also don't retouch everything. Don't retouch everything.
I think what is good advice as well is step away from the monitor every now and then. I think this is where these orange skinned people come from, is when you spend 2 hours retouching a photo, like you adjust the slider little bit by little bit by little bit. And when you come back 2 hours later, you think, oh, what the hell did I do here? So step away from the monitor every now and then to kind of refresh your eyes, because if you spend too much time on it,
I do that a lot, actually. Like,
I'm
editing, I leave the space, go outside, chill a little bit. When I come back, I'm like, oh, okay, I think I messed up with the greens too much. Let me bring them back.
Yes.
And then bring them back. Oh, I think the skin is way too so. Let me, and then, because when you're outside, you can actually see colors for what they look like. And then when you come back into the digital aspect of it, your RGB, you're good.
That's also a very big topic. Like, the ambient light in your room plays tricks on your mind as well.
It does.
So if you go outside and you soak a bit of natural daylight in, you go back to your monitor, all of a sudden
you see
colors
the difference in the colors. You're like, wait, this red is starting to look a bit orange. Let me bring it back to the red.
Yes.
Because there's colors that play with us like that.
So good advice, step away every now and then, just have a break and come check up on your work every now and then.
That's true.
Look at the monitor for 2 hours. Your brain is going to start.
You are definitely going to get lost in the sauce.
Yeah, I like that one. All right. So, balancing a passion for photography versus career. Like, these are two things on opposite ends of the scale. And obviously, ideally, you want overlap. Like, you want your career to be your passion. But obviously, it's going to separate every now and then. How do you maintain the balance? How do you maintain the spark? How do you put career on one side without losing the passion?
See, that's actually quite tricky, because and it's a conversation that you have to have with yourself when you're alone sometimes and you're thinking, okay, I mean, I love doing this. I've made a career out of it, but it still doesn't make sense to other people or to you sometimes. Like there are times where you're just like, man, how do you do 1, 2, 3? How do you keep moving? What's the next step from this? Because especially when you don't know how other people do certain things, but then you see that they're doing quite well, and you're like, dude, how did you get to this level? How did you move to this, to that? And how, and some will give you advice and some will lock you out because obviously they're like, you coming after my job, bro. So I'm not gonna give you all the codes, So the career part of it is very tricky because to some people, photography is still looked at as a hobby. You know what I'm saying? But there are spaces in South Africa and internationally where this thing is a full-on career if you do it well and do it right. So it's just a matter of like finding the pocket to work in. So that's also the tricky part. That how do you explain to either family, friends, or whoever that this is the pocket I'm in, and then they have to fully understand that. So it's quite tricky to separate the hobby part of it or the career part of it. But keep going at it.
Yes.
It becomes clearer and clearer for you that, okay, I can knock on this door and this will happen. I can knock on this door and then maybe it might close, but it opens something that I've never thought it can actually happen. I didn't even think that being an ambassador for a phone is something in the books for me. And then when it happened, it kind of opened up other revenues in that. I'm like, oh, maybe I should actually approach 1, 2, 3, 4 people regarding this thing. Or maybe I should actually talk to so-and-so regarding this thing, So I've had conversations with like young up and coming photographers from my hometown that would ask me, how do you get to the space? And how do you get to the space? And it's quite tricky to answer that question because I'm just like, dude, it's a mashup of different moves. It's not like I woke up, stood up, took my laptop, went into a certain office and said, hey, this is what we should be doing. It just kind of naturally happened, or by luck and preparation, things just kind of linked up quite well, So it's quite tricky to tell people how to go about getting either endorsements or growing yourself to a place where you don't know which job to accept because there's so many coming at you, or saying no to certain things because they're not aligning with where you want to go. Like there's this other a girl that I know from like Instagram and Facebook. She was telling me, oh, my little sister is doing a matric dance and whatever. And I kind of nicely stopped her in the tracks. I'm like, I'm sorry, I do not shoot matric dances anymore. I know a few people that would love to, because I've passed that part of it. I've passed that stage of it. I want to move away from that so the up and coming ones can learn what I've learned by doing that job. I don't want to be taking every other job. So I would rather be like, oh no, there's a guy that I know, he would love to do this, and then I pass the gigs, because you don't want to be the oldest man in the club.
Yeah, I ask this question because it's always fascinating to hear how people talk about balancing hobbies with career and whatnot. I personally, I don't like the question whatsoever. Because there's not a unicorn fantasy space that exists out there where everything happens all at once, like where you have perfect fulfillment as far as career is concerned and perfect fulfillment as far as passion is concerned. Like in the real world, it's a mishmash of everything. Sometimes you feel happier doing this or happier doing that. Like, don't go chasing after dreams. Be proactive at learning and adopt as you go along and evolve as you go along. Like, don't pretend there's a fantasy out there that exists exclusively for some people out there. It's all about hard work, preparation, learning as you go along, and
Yeah.
obviously evolving with the process as well.
With the process
So
as
yeah,
well.
sometimes your job is going to feel like a chore. Sometimes your hobby is going to feel like nobody's taking it seriously. Sometimes you're going to lose the passion. Sometimes you get a lot of money. Sometimes you get less money. But
Yeah.
listen, it's a learning process, right? So you put all of that into a blender and you go along with life.
It's pay again, honey and pay.
Yes. Very good point.
Yeah.
Gabriel, I think this was a very enlightening chat. We are on an hour and a half, so time just flew.
Yeah.
We had so much to talk about. We had a lot of fun. But I think we can draw things to an end, except for one last question. And it's a question I always leave people with. What advice would you give aspiring photographers out there?
Whew. I think what I would say is just do it. Just there's no restrictions from the outside. There's nothing that people can tell you. There's not like there's not a lot of money people can offer you to stop doing what you love. You know, so if you love it, do it. There's no, and you will learn when the more you do it, because there's no memorandum to this thing. You know, my journey is not the same as yours, and vice versa. So just shoot, man. If you love shooting images, shoot. If you love shooting film, shoot. If you like designing, design. Like there's nothing nobody can say to you that will make you stop anyway. And if that's the case, then you didn't love it. You know, so just shoot, yo. Shoot. If you want to shoot, just shoot. Everything else will just happen for you. The universe works for you. It works with you. Just come through with the idea of love and then positive things, and then it'll happen for you.
I love that. Well done. All right. Thank you so much. I think we are done with the interview, at least from my side. I don't know if there are people out there that still have some questions to ask. This is your moment, so I'm going to give it like 5 minutes. So if you have questions, now's the time to flood the comment section, guys.
Yeah, I'm seeing somebody actually asked, my sister asked the question, how did you get past the getting paid for exposure phase?
Good question.
You see that one? That one is also dangerous, but it's necessary.
Yeah.
You know, when you want the exposure, this is what you should be doing, right? You can do this. I'm not gonna say don't or whatever. When you want the exposure, you can definitely go about shooting for exposure. But once you feel like this is not what I want anymore, you have the right to say, yo, this is what I charge. I don't want exposure. I'm good. This is my fee. If you can't match my fee, then let's keep it moving, bro. So me personally, there was a point where I did a couple of shoots or worked with a guy for exposure. And also I felt like I needed to learn that space of, I needed to go through that to know that I don't want this, I don't want that, you know? So it's good. I feel like you can do it if you something that you want. If it's not what you want, even to begin with, then don't do it, you know? Because there's a lot of that in the entertainment industry where they're like, oh, cool, come through, follow me for like 3-6 months, let's do this thing, what. And because they're good at it, they will sell you the idea of it being really cool. And you're like, oh my God, I'm working with so and so and so. This is so dope, whatever. But you still have to eat, man. So you need to get like some sort of a check, you know? So
Yeah, it's a very tricky thing, the getting paid for exposure thing. Like I often tell people, if you shoot for exposure, own it. Like it's your thing to gain exposure from. Don't depend on somebody else giving you exposure. Like the people who promise you to put you on their page, they have like 100,000 followers, just shoot for free or give exposure. Don't believe that. Like
no,
that's not a you thing. Shoot for your own exposure, your own growth, your own experience. Like own that space. So if you shoot for free, make it a you thing. Like yes, you're contributing to somebody else, but
Yeah.
Forget about it. Like,
Yeah.
make it a you thing. So don't depend on other people doing something for you. Own the space and take the opportunities to learn, gain experience, network with people. That should be the intention. Like, don't go out there shooting for free, hoping that somebody's going to put you on a map somewhere. Like,
No.
own that space for yourself.
Because the funny thing is, they're still trying to get on the map themselves. So now doing that, now they have to carry you. Also, because in rooms where you're not in, chances are they're talking only about themselves. You know, because there's an opportunity on the table. Hey, we want you to do this. They're not gonna say, oh, also I work with this guy. If you guys are not gonna bring him along, I'm not gonna come through. That's not how it goes. You know. So if you're gonna shoot for exposure, know what you're doing with that content and use it
Yes,
for what
good point.
it's there for. Yeah. Like if you
Now that's
my images, let me use you also for what I need to do. You know. So let's use each other. Let's not misuse each other.
That's a very good point. Just because it's for free doesn't mean, okay, no contracts now. It's still contracts. Like if you shoot for free, there should still be contracts because free shoots are normally messy. They're actually messier when people get paid for it because you don't know who's copyright, who's lies with what. You don't know what this person's doing with their images.
That is very
heard horror stories about this, right? So people shoot models in the studio and the photos land up on some nasty website and you don't have a contract to protect you against that.
Protect you against
get signed contracts, even if it's free. If it's free,
you say
get the contract.
It's crazy. You see those pictures that I showed that you were showcasing the black and the berry one.
Yeah.
There's a guy who actually took that picture and turned into an art piece without even a permission, without asking, he just took it, made an art piece about it. He wanted to sell it. I had to stop it. Like, bro, you didn't get my permission. I had to stop the whole thing. I got so pissed off.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I'm like, I'm also selling these pieces. You want to take it and make it into a... No, man. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to happen to me, but, So I was like, hey, protection is important.
It is protection, very important. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's it going to be from my side. I don't see any other questions. So, Gabriel, this was a huge honor. It was fantastic talking to you. It was very illuminating, and I'm certain the audience enjoyed it as well. Very comfortable being around you. All the comments in the comment section talking about how you're pleasant to be around, how you bring good vibes. I felt that personally tonight, and it was absolutely amazing bouncing ideas off you and talking to you about photography and everything outside of photography as well. Thank you so much. It was very rewarding to me and hopefully for the audience as well. So I don't know if you have any shout outs, any last words that you want to get out there?
I'd like to send a shout out to my family, my sister Tensha, my little sister Vitumelo, my moms, all the support that I got from them to get to the point where I am now. I'd like to send a shout out to my hometown, Ring. What it is! Mokopane, I see you. Thanks for the support over the years. I'll keep raising the flag high, I'll always mention where I'm from. I love it. It's up to you guys to get me to this point now. The support, I appreciate it. Shout out to my fellow photographers in the game, Justice Fatuani, Young Stilo, Arthur Dlamini, Kumucho Nato, Andy Lebuka, David Black. These are guys that are doing amazing stuff. We are part of one thing. We are part of one photography family. We always shouting out each other like that. It's been great, man. Thank you very much for inviting me to have a conversation with you. Love CameraStuff. It's been dope, Conrad. Thank you very much, man.
It's a pleasure, and it's a pleasure from my side as well. Thank you, Gabriel. I think that's going to be a good night from my side. So thank you for everybody watching. Oh, sorry, just repeat. Oh, sorry, just repeat. You froze for a second.
I didn't get that.
I think one of us is freezing.
I think we're good. I can see you, hear you quite clear.
Okay, what's that last statement you made?
Oh, I'm saying, well, thank you very much. Thank you for bringing me to this platform. I appreciate it. The support, everything.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah, so that's going to be it from our side. Good night, everyone. Just as a reminder, this is going to stay on YouTube. So Gabriel spoke about being immortalized. This is going to be immortalized on YouTube forever. So if you want to catch up, if you want to start from the beginning, it's on YouTube channel. Gabriel, I'll send this video to you as well, so you can use it on your channels, wherever you want. Yeah, so if you have joined us halfway through or 3/4 in, if you want to catch up from the beginning, you can do so on YouTube.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Hope you have a pleasant night further. And also good night to Gabriel. And from our side, Conrad, on behalf of CameraStuff.
Peace.
Hope you have an awesome night further.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.